Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal Executive Council approves over 18.6 billion naira for new EFCC Training Academy. Centers for facilities are the contracts. Senate adjourns plenary for Easter holidays. Plus, French union leaders denounce pension reform meeting with Prime Minister Boy. The details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin the news tonight with the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari today, where it ratified an approval of 3.3 billion naira to build a new training facility for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC). Beyond this, the Federal Executive Council meeting also approved a contract award valued at 10.9 billion naira for the National Population Commission (NPC) to boost its ICT infrastructures preparatory to the National Population Census scheduled for May this year. Senior Special Assistant in Media and Publicity to the President, Garba Shehu, disclosed the approvals on behalf of some of the ministers who had other engagements outside the villa. He disclosed that a variation cost of 65 million naira was also approved for the supply of fire crash tenders for selected airports in the country. The Federal Executive Council equally deliberated on a memo seeking approval for the procurement of 19 operational vehicles for the Nigerian Ports Authority (NPA) at a cost of 1 billion naira. Away from that now, President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the National Council on Digital Innovation Entrepreneurship (NCDIE) today. The NCDIE, which is chaired by the President, has 13 other members, including the Vice President, Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Trade and Investment, Communications and Digital Economy, Governor of the Central Bank, among others. The Council is equally charged with the responsibility of promoting the development of the country's digital economy and providing a supportive environment for entrepreneurs to thrive. At the inauguration, President Buhari highlighted the importance of the NCDIE in driving economic growth and job creation, as well as plans to consolidate on the gains recorded in the sector under his administration. The President said he expects that the Entrepreneurship Council will oversee the implementation of the Nigeria Startup Act 2022, which aims to stimulate the growth of innovative startups and small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, in the country. In the meantime, President Buhari has written to the House of Representatives urging it to consider and approve the Nigerian Data Protection Bill and Police Force College Training Schools and Institutions Establishment Bill. Buhari also requested the Green Chambers to approve the reimbursement by issuing promissory notes to Plateau and Borno states, the sums of 6.6 billion naira and 3.8 billion naira, respectively, for federal roads executed by the states. The President's requests were contained in separate letters addressed to the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, at plenary. Reading the letters, the Deputy Speaker, Idris Wase, who presided over the plenary session, explained that the Data Protection Bill sought to provide a legal framework for the protection of personal information and establish a Data Protection Commission for the regulation of processing of personal information. Meanwhile, the Police Force College Training Schools and Institutions Establishment Bill is to provide a comprehensive institutional framework for the establishment of the Nigerian Police Force College for the provision of specialized training to officers in law enforcement to enhance their performance. Meanwhile, President Buhari has ordered the Executive Vice Chairman (EVC) of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure (NASENI), Mohammed Haruna, to immediately hand over his office to the next most senior officer in the establishment. The Office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation disclosed this in a statement by its Director, Information Willie Bassi. According to Bassi, the order follows the reversal of the extension in office granted by the President from April 2, 2023 to April 2, 2025 due to the fact that the EVC had completed 2 tenures of 5 years each in the organization. In another development, Vice President Yemi Osibanjo has directed the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority to develop the country's first carbon market activation plan and drive engagement on the plan. He also argued that Africa could become the first truly green civilization given its status as the lowest carbon emitter and its relatively young population that could effectively deploy green manufacturing at scale. The Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President in Media and Publicity, Lau Luokonde, disclosed this in a statement in Abuja. The statement described the collaboration between NSIA and Vitol, a multinational energy and commodities company, as crucial due to its lineup of projects, and it would make Nigeria a functional green economy. Away from that, the federal government has declared Friday 7 and Monday 10 April 2023 as public holidays to mark this year's Easter celebration. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Arabeshala, made the declaration in Abuja. Arabeshala, in a statement signed by the ministry's Permanent Secretary, Shuaib Bagori, urged Christians to emulate the virtues of sacrifice, togetherness, forgiveness, kindness, love, peace, and patience, which were attributes and practices of Jesus Christ, as exemplified by his ministry on earth. He called on Christians and all Nigerians to use the occasion of this year's Easter celebration to pray for an end to the security challenges in parts of the country. Speaking further, he assured that the federal government is doing all that is necessary to ensure a peaceful transition of government following the peaceful conduct of elections. In the meantime, Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola says the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway Road project will be completed soon, while the second Niger Bridge will be commissioned and opened to traffic in May. According to a statement by the Director of Press and Public Relations in the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, Blessing Lere Adams, the minister spoke during the pre-inspection of the local Weto Bridge in Nasarawa State. Fashola further stated that the local Weto Bridge is 200 meters longer than the second Niger Bridge. In the meantime, the federal government has said that operators in the maritime sector may get about $700 million to acquire new vessels. The Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Bashir Jamo, said this at the maiden annual lecture of the Institute of Maritime Studies at the University of Lagos, Akoka. According to him, at least $700 million has been earmarked for the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. Jamo added that the government is looking towards each ship owner getting at least $25 million from the fund. From the red chambers now, where the Senate has adopted the report of the conference committee set up with the House of Representatives to harmonize the bill for an act to establish the Nigeria Peace Corps. The conference committee set up earlier in the year by both the Senate and House of Representatives completed its assignment on Wednesday last week. A harmonized report of the conference committee, which was laid and adopted by the Senate in plenary, showed the upper chamber adopted the version of the bill as passed by the House of Representatives. However, the bill for an act to establish the Nigeria Peace Corps provides the opportunity for individuals, groups, associations, or bodies that show or demonstrate interest to be absorbed as members of the Corps and shall be absorbed subject to the mandatory basic training and orientation program of the Corps, as may be prescribed from time to time when the bill is signed into law. Still on legislative matters, Senate today adjourned the plenary till April 25, 2023 to allow lawmakers observe the Easter and Eid al-Fitr holidays. The Senate President Ahmad Lawan made the announcement shortly before the end of the plenary in Abuja. He said the break would enable lawmakers participate in their various religious activities as well as take deserved rest. Meanwhile, the Chairman Senate Committee on Army, Muhammad Ali Ndume, today formally joined the race to succeed Ahmad Lawan as Senate President in the 10th National Assembly. Ndume announced his intention to vie for the position while responding to questions from reporters in Abuja. Of all those who have signified their intention to contest the position of Senate President, Ndume became the first to set out a blueprint on how he intends to pilot the affairs of the Red Chambers should he get the opportunity to preside. He, however, advocated that the race be thrown without encumbrances of zoning as being planned by the party. He added that his ambition would be determined to a large extent by the proposed zoning of the position and the fairness of such zoning arrangement by the All Progressives Congress APC as a loyal party man. To the judiciary now, where a Federal Capital Territory High Court has issued an order restraining the National Chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, National Secretary Farouk Ibrahim, and 2 others from parading themselves as national officers of the party. Others stopped from parading themselves as national officers are the National Organizing Secretary Clement Ojukwu and the Treasurer Oluchi Okpara. Justice Hamza Muazu issued the restraining order while ruling in ex-party application argued by a James Onoja. In an application, Onoja told the court how the restrained national officers allegedly forged several documents of the FCT High Court to carry out unlawful substitutions in the last general elections. Among the documents were the receipts, seal, and affidavits of the court to carry out criminal activities. In a separate development now, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has pleaded leniency for former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who was found guilty of organ trafficking in the United Kingdom. Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice, with a Dr. Obinna Obeta, were found guilty of facilitating the travel of a young man to Britain with a view to his exploitation after a 6-week trial at the Old Bailey. They were found to have criminally conspired to bring the 21-year-old Lagos street trader to London to exploit him for his kidney on March 23, 2023 by the jury. Ahead of the sentencing of the trial, Obasanjo, in a letter to the Chief Clerk of the Central Criminal Court, Old Bailey, London, dated April 3, 2023, said the urgent need of medical attention by Sonia should make the United Kingdom temper justice with mercy. In politics, the Rivers State Executive Committee of the All Progressives Congress APC today suspended the party's chairman, Emeka Beke, and the legal advisor, Ihanyi Chukwu Azubuike, over alleged anti-party activities and financial misconduct. Also, the State Executive Council dissociated itself from the comments allegedly made by the former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, that the President-elect Bola Tinubu single-handedly nominated Professor Mahmood Yakubu as the Independent National Electoral Commission chairman. Special leader of the party's executive committee in the state, Chike Enyinda, who led other members to a media briefing in Port Harcourt, disclosed this today. Enyinda noted that the activities of Beke and Amechi had adversely affected the party in the last couple of years, culminating in its dismal outing in the just concluded general election. To the politics, the Plateau State Police Command has sealed the State House of Assembly complex in order to forestall the breakdown of law and order following the reinstatement of former Speaker Ayuba Abok by the State High Court. Officers of the State Police Command were at the Assembly entrance early today, barring anyone, including staff, from gaining access to the complex following threats from the warring factions to take over the assembly complex. Commissioner of Police in the state, Bartholomew Onyeka, met with the factions for an amicable resolution of the crisis and is yet to make any statement on the issue. The State Assembly has been experiencing some relative peace since Abog's impeachment until the State High Court judgment ordering his reinstatement. Security matters now, where the Kaduna State government has reviewed the 24-hour curfew imposed in Nasarawa and Trikania communities. In a statement by Samuel Arowan, Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, he said the curfew will now begin from 7 p.m. through 7 a.m. with effect from today. Arowan further disclosed that the review was sequel to close monitoring and assessment of the situation by security agencies. He urged residents of the affected areas to go about their activities between the set time and advised them to comply with the curfew as well as maintain orderly conduct as security agencies continue to work in the affected areas. Back here in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom drivers in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, have been advised to obey road safety rules and regulations and also drive carefully to avoid road crashes as the rainy season sets in. Speaking with our correspondent Esther Toyo, the Public Relations Officer of Federal Road Safety Corps FRSC Akwa Ibom State Sector Command James Paul noted that it is important for drivers to apply precautionary measures when driving in the rain to avoid the incidence of road traffic crisis. Paul identified some of the precautionary measures and urged drivers to also avoid overloading of their vehicles as it can result to road accidents.
It is important for every driver who is driving within this period to be able to understand and have certain safety measures put in place. Particularly, we need to talk about the area or the aspect of lighting systems of your vehicle. You will understand that while you are driving, even though it is not raining before you set off at home, it's important that you have it at the back of your mind that it may be raining as you get along the way. So for that reason, it's important that you be able to check and be sure that all your lighting systems are in place, they are functional, they are working, and then you also need to check and be sure that you have a functional wiper. That's very, very important. Unfortunately, we've got to see some drivers that other than using their wiper where it is raining, they rather use perhaps rags or anything, as improvisation to stretch their hands to their windscreen to clean the windshield. And that is very, very erroneous and very dangerous practice as well. It is also good for every driver to understand that during the rainy season that we also need to be sure that we have good tires. You understand that where it is raining, then you need a very good tire that will be able to make a very firm and strong grip with the surface of the road. So where you have a tire that is worn out, you realize that it increases your stopping distance, because where you apply brake, it takes a longer time for that vehicle to come to a final halt. It is also good that you be able to understand what you need to do in the event that you meet rain on the way. Yes, some drivers don't understand. You see them going at a certain speed at which they were going even before it starts raining. Take for instance, where you are driving and you meet a heavy storm. It is normal and it's also precautionary that that driver reduces his or her speed.
Still to come in the news. Egyptian pound hovers around record low. Stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. Now moving on to Africa, where the South African government has decided to revoke a national state of disaster that it declared in February to address the electricity crisis. The state of disaster meant it could use emergency procurement procedures with fewer bureaucratic delays in a bid to ending severe power cuts. There had been concern that this would open the door to further corruption in the state-owned power company Eskom. The government now says it can deal with the crisis through existing legislation. Meanwhile, South Africa's Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has also reversed a decision to exempt Eskom from declaring all of its expenditure. Still in South Africa now, more than 200 activists have reportedly gathered outside the Ugandan High Commission in South Africa to demonstrate against the anti-gay bill recently passed by Ugandan lawmakers. The activists, led by South Africa's leftist economic freedom fighters opposition party, urged Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni not to sign the bill into law. According to them, the bill introduces harsh punishment for several acts, including a death penalty and up to 20 years imprisonment for offenders. Guinea now, where a court has found 3 doctors guilty in connection with the death of a young woman who was raped in the hospital. The government said in 2021 that Sala had died in Tunisia, where she had been evacuated for treatment after being raped. The case caused a great deal of outrage in Guinea. A court in the capital, Conakry, has now sentenced Daniel and Patrice Lama to 15 years in prison, and a third doctor, Celestine Milimona, who is on the run, was given a 20-year sentence. They were all found guilty of assault and battery, as well as carrying out an abortion. Patrice Lama and Milimona were also found guilty of rape. In the meantime, the newly established interim administration in Ethiopia's war-ravaged Tigray region has appointed a 27-member cabinet to steer a political transition in the area. According to reports, it comes after the federal government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF) signed a peace accord to end a brutal war in the region. Meanwhile, new Tigray President Getachew Reda will be flanked by 2 vice presidents, General Sadgan Gebretense and General Tadesse Warede, military commanders who fought the Ethiopian army in the recent war. In Africa, political parties in Liberia have signed a peace accord to prevent violence ahead of October presidential and legislative elections. President George Weah said the accord signed by 26 political parties shows the country's commitment to national stability during the polls. The pact obliges signatories and their supporters to uphold peaceful elections and resort to constitutional means if they are dissatisfied with the electoral process and outcomes. Members of observer missions from the African Union, the European Union, and other diplomats witnessed the signing of the accord. Meanwhile, the elections are expected to be hotly contested, with the incumbent facing strong challenges from former Vice President Joseph Boakai of the former ruling Unity Party and Alexander Cummings of the collaborating political parties. Meanwhile, police in central Uganda have detained a Chinese national over a road crash that killed 2 school children and left 3 others injured. In a statement, police said Zhao Haijanga allegedly knocked the pupils at Kamusenene village along Lubali-Bukuya Road in Kasanda district as he attempted to overtake a truck loaded with logs. The 2 bodies were taken to a local mortuary awaiting post-mortem. Haijanga was detained by police as investigation on the incident continues. Elsewhere, Kenya's opposition leader Raila Odinga has made fresh demands that risk rocking the bipartisan talks opened by President William Ruto on Sunday. The 2 were rivals in last year's presidential election and have agreed to hold talks on the reconstitution of the Electoral Commission after the opposition suspended protests. President Ruto insists the bipartisan talks should be done through Parliament and has not commented on the opposition's demands for the agenda to also include the soaring cost of living. Meanwhile, Odinga said the rising prices has to be discussed and insisted President Ruto should expand the talks beyond parliament. A foreign scene. Polish President Andrzej Duda today awarded Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky with the Order of the White Eagle during a ceremony at the presidential palace in Warsaw. Duda said the Order of the White Eagle is the oldest and highest Polish award and is presented to outstanding individuals, while describing Zelensky as a unique man. Receiving the award, the Ukrainian president thanked Duda, the government and people of Poland, and for standing shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and the provision of shelter to Ukrainians. On the foreign scene, the United Nations mission in Afghanistan has held talks with Taliban officials in Kabul to seek clarity on a new government ban that blocks women from working for the world body across the country. Recall that since seizing power in August 2021, the Taliban authorities have imposed a slew of restrictions on Afghan women, including banning them from higher education and many government jobs. The UN said the Taliban government had extended the ban on women working for non-governmental organizations to the world body. Spokesman for the Secretary General, Stefan Dujarric, told reporters that UN received word of an order by the de facto authorities that bans female national staff members of the United Nations from working, adding that the UN has heard from various conduits that this applies to the whole country. Meanwhile, the UN chief Antonio Guterres said any such ban would be unacceptable and, frankly, inconceivable. Elsewhere, former U.S. President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 criminal counts stemming from hush money paid to an adult movie star before the 2016 election. The 76-year-old Republican former president faces dozens of counts in the case, which threatens to upend the 2024 White House race. Recall that Trump turned himself in for the court hearing held amid tight security and a global media frenzy, as the Republican became the first American president in history to face criminal charges. In another development, French President Emmanuel Macron said today that China had a major role to play in finding a path to peace in Ukraine as he kicked off a three-day visit to Beijing. Speaking at a gathering of the French community in Beijing ahead of a meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping on Thursday, Macron said France would seek to work with China in the shared responsibility for peace and stability in Ukraine. According to him, China, with its close relationship with Russia, which has been reaffirmed in recent days, can play a major role, noting Beijing's stated opposition to the use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine, as well as its proposal for peace between Kiev and Moscow. Meanwhile, the French president's first trip to China in 4 years is set to be dominated by the conflict in Ukraine, with an official from his office telling reporters he would seek to stand firm in talks with Xi. Meanwhile, French unions said last-ditch talks with the Prime Minister today had failed to ease tensions over a divisive pension reform and called for record turnout at protest rallies the next day. President Emmanuel Macron is facing the biggest challenge of his second term over his flagship pension overhaul, which includes hiking the minimum retirement age from 62 to 64. Unrest erupted after Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne on March 16 invoked a controversial executive order to ram the bill through Parliament without a vote, despite months of mass protests against it. Elsewhere, prosecutors in Paris have opened a criminal investigation into allegations that pollution in the capital's metro system is putting travelers' lives at risk. Metro operator RATP is being investigated for possible trickery and causing involuntary injuries following claims that it deliberately underreports pollution levels and fails to inform passengers about the dangers. The head of the Respire Breathe campaign group, Tony Ranucci, said in a statement that announced the opening of a criminal probe which was confirmed by the Paris prosecutor's office. Meanwhile, the charity, which lobbies for clean air, filed a legal complaint in 2021 after carrying out 2 separate monitoring investigations. Still on the foreign scene, Israeli police clashed with Palestinians inside Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque today, sparking a military exchange of rockets and airstrikes in flaring violence as the Jewish Passover coincides with the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Armed police in riot gear stormed the mosque's prayer hall before dawn with the goal of dislodging law-breaking youths and masked agitators who they said had barricaded themselves inside following evening prayers. According to reports, the officers were met with a barrage of rocks and fireworks. Police video showed more than 350 arrests were made in the raid, which drew threats from Palestinian groups and wide condemnation from Muslim countries. In the meantime, a 25-year-old attacker burst into a preschool in southern Brazil and killed 4 children today with a bladed weapon before turning himself in to police. Police and government officials in the state of Santa Catarina said the man had also wounded 4 victims at the private preschool. Known as the Good Shepherd Center, in the morning attack in the city of Blumenau. According to police in a statement, he handed himself in at the state police station and was arrested. You're still listening to Planet News at 9. We take a break now to stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian, from issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories on how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
And thanks for staying tuned. You're still watching Spectrum News at 9. Now, in health, the federal government has said that only about 60% of eligible Nigerians have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. The Executive Director of National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, NPHCDA, Faisal Shuaib, made the revelation in Abuja at a knowledge sharing for accelerating equitable access, acceptance and uptake of COVID-19 vaccines access project. Represented by the State Immunization Office, FCT, Dr. Colin Nicholas, the NPHCDA boss submitted that Nigeria was yet to attain the target of vaccinating 70% of its citizens. He blamed the development on people's hesitancy to take the vaccine, adding that lifting of lockdowns and restrictions contributed to the problem. Asked what the country is doing wrong in this regard, the NPHCDA chief executive asserted that the only challenge was vaccine hesitancy. In health, the National Health Insurance Authority, NHIA, has reiterated its commitment to providing financial protection to Nigerians in the event of ill health. The NHIA coordinator in Kaduna State, Aminu Tanimu, who gave the assurance in Kaduna, said that the authority has different health insurance packages for different categories of people in both the formal and informal sectors, and that they are all aimed towards the attainment of universal health coverage. According to him, there is a package for the formal sector, informal sector, community-based retirees and undergraduates, among other packages for all categories of persons and individuals, stressing that the aim is to ensure that no one is left behind in the federal government's efforts to providing health insurance cover for all citizens. Tanimu urged Nigerians to embrace the program and access quality healthcare services at affordable cost without exposure to financial risk. Let's head over now to Isaac. Isaac, for trending sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Xavier Roberts. In sports, the Charleston Open has historically been a happy hunting ground for Jessica Pegula. Well, thank you very much, Xavier Roberts. In sports, the Charleston Open has historically been a happy hunting ground for Jessica Pegula for Paulo Badosa, and the number 12 delivered one of her cleanest performances of the year to defeat Maya Sharif 6-3, 6-1 in the first round. The Spaniard was a semi-finalist in 2021, scoring her first win over a reigning world number 1 along the way with an upset of Ashley Barty, and a quarterfinalist in 2022. This year, Badosa arrives in Charleston, seeking to arrest a slide down the rankings. Just under a year ago, she hit a career high of number 2. This week, she has fallen to number 29, but she was able to navigate the dangers of Sharif's shot-making with consistent display. Badosa would next face either former US Open finalist Leila Fernandez or returning mother of 2, Eugenia Rodina. Well, talking about basketball, the Los Angeles Lakers needed LeBron James to drag them through against the Utah Jazz, but he might not be available to face the Los Angeles Clippers. A 135-133 overtime win in Salt Lake City this morning ensured the Lakers guaranteed their spot in the play-in tournament in Western Conference. James was crucial against the Jazz, scoring 37 points and playing 38 minutes. The most he has managed since returning from a foot injury that kept him out for 4 weeks. Coach Darvin Ham confirmed no decision has been taken yet. Well, finally, from football, former Barcelona and Spain manager Luis Enrique is understood to be in London to hold talks with Chelsea over their vacant managerial position. The 52-year-old who is out of work after leaving Spain's job following the World Cup won the treble with Barcelona in the 2014-15 season, lifting the La Liga, the Copa del Rey and the Champions League. Chelsea are set to assess up to 7 candidates, including Luis Enrique, as they undergo what they insist to be an exhaustive process to replace Graham Potter, who was sacked on Sunday after just 7 months in charge. Julian Nagelsmann is another front runner for the job, with Sky in Germany reporting that talks between the former Bayern Munich head coach representatives in Chelsea are ongoing and positive. But that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Well, back to you, Xavier.
Thanks, Isaac. And now on our entertainment news, Nigerian award-winning musician Davido will be the very special guest appearance at the 2023 Forbes 30 Under 30 conference in Botswana. The 30-year-old Afrobeats megastar is set to speak at the Forbes 30 Under 30 event, where he can be expected to share some insights about becoming one of the biggest artists in the world while also running a successful label. Davido will also be performing his new album Timeless at the event, as he is set to entertain guests from all around the world. Recall that the hitmaker first performed the album in New York at the Ivan Plaza before performing 2 days later at the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Still on entertainment, pop star Stromae has cancelled a string of tour dates across Europe, saying he needs to focus on his health. The Belgian singer wrote in a statement that he was cancelling all shows until the end of May. Known to many for his 2010 hit Allos on Dance, he was due to perform in 9 cities across Europe. Stromae, whose real name is Paul Van Hever, returned to performing in 2022 after a 7-year hiatus. The 38-year-old has already cancelled 6 concert dates in the past 2 weeks and has not given a specific medical reason for his poor health. And finally, on entertainment tonight, Nigerian hip-hop artist Folarin Falana, popularly known as Falz, has revealed why he does confrontational music. In an interview with Newsman, Falz said he would rather go down fighting for justice than to remain silent and die from the alleged failed system of the country. The multi-talented entertainer was speaking on the heels of his latest song with his colleague Vector, titled Yakubu. The rappers in the song called out INEC, its chairman, and other political parties allegedly involved in the electoral malpractices in the just concluded general elections. That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye-bye.